Good afternoon, everybody. Texas Redleg here. Wanted to continue my, series on risk management and talk about the things that kind of go along with that from a personal security standpoint. It's a tricky subject when you talk about things like, trying to foresee issues down the road or possibilities of trouble ahead. But one good thing that you can sort of implement in your life and the way that you think and the way that you operate is understanding surveillance. And there's different forms of surveillance, and there's also counter surveillance. So let me go ahead and just back up and just again remind people of my past life in military law enforcement and then criminal intelligence gathering. If somebody is proficient and very astute at performing surveillance, you're never going to know they're there. Okay? So it's not an easy trait to develop from an investigative standpoint. You have to really be savvy, and you have to be very nimble, and you have to be able to blend in almost in any type of situation, scenario, etc., etc., etc. Now, there's static surveillance, which means, you're sitting on a house or whatever, you're videotaping, you're taking still photos, whatever the case may be. There's mobile surveillance. And so static and mobile are two different things, but they really try to accomplish the same thing. The approach is just different, but also the same. And sometimes with regard to surveillance, sometimes the most obvious is the least obvious, okay? So if you are, a person that feels like that you may be under surveillance by a, particular agency or individual, doesn't have to be law enforcement. It can be, a perp. It can be human traffickers. It can be any number of things, burglars, gangs, etc. Again, most amateurs that try to perform surveillance or following somebody aren't going to be very good at it, okay? Having said that, as a potential, victim of one of these people or, a subject, if you will, there are things that you can do to try to sniff out those types of things, okay? But again, if you're dealing with somebody that's proficient and professional, you're likely not ever going to know that you're being watched or followed. It's just that simple. So from a civilian standpoint, one thing that you obviously can get good at is switching your mindset from being busy all the time to really focusing and paying attention to your surroundings, okay? The old thing, if something looks out of place, it probably is, or it could be. Anything from checking your wheel wells or bumpers underneath for, Apple tags or whatnot, air tags, other types of devices. There's all sorts of wireless, interactive, digital devices that are used now for tracking vehicles, etc. Obviously, a lot of them are just on the civilian market, like these air tags. I think I'm saying that right. But another thing that you can do, obviously, is to check your mirrors regularly, right? And when I say check your mirrors, in reality, you should be checking your mirrors 360, about every 30 seconds at least, if not every 10 to 15 seconds. I'm constantly reviewing my rear view and my side mirrors for anticipation of, being followed or being followed by somebody too closely. A lot of people just don't know how to drive as well, and they could just be riding your bumper, tailgating you, just because they're a poor driver. And again, if somebody is literally surveilling you from a professional standpoint or a professional agency, and, you're probably not going to know that they're in that position. So checking your mirrors is huge. Varying your routes is also huge. Don't be afraid to vary your speeds. Don't be afraid to leave the house and maybe just go around the block and come back around. there's a lot of times when you might forget something or whatever, and you just go on without it. But maybe every once in a while I'm going to go back home and get it. So maybe make a loop around the block or go up the road and come back. And, again, you're varying your activity, you're varying your route, you're varying your times. As far as going to work or going to the store, don't be afraid to take additional alternative routes. And, that should be something that you probably do regularly anyway, just because, you need to know different ways to get somewhere or get out of somewhere. So the same really applies to static surveillance. Somebody's out for, the vehicles that are typically outside of your home. If there's a vehicle out there that doesn't look normal, it looks out of place, and it's been there a while and you don't feel good about it, jot the license plate number down, take a photo. Don't be afraid to call the police and report a suspicious vehicle. That's the terminology to use if you want to report something that doesn't look right. And again, if they're good at it, you're never going to know they're even there. So these are just tips to help people stay safe. And I'm not giving these tips to try to help people avoid, law enforcement at all. But, you need to know if you're being surveilled. It's important. And you need to know things that you can do to prevent that and or sniff it out and to get away from it. So, good lighting around your home is another one. But again, just good common sense. Again, we're talking about using your noodle up here. All right. Again, if something doesn't look right, it's probably not. So don't be afraid to, make noise. If you think you're under suspicion for something, or if somebody just is following you and you don't feel good about it, don't be afraid to look at them. Don't be afraid to take pictures, and don't be afraid to call the police and report suspicious vehicles and or suspicious activities. But keep that lighting, well around your home or your door. If you have an apartment, make sure you keep that front porch light on or that balcony light on. And make sure that you, again, are taking photos and paying attention. I'll be honest with you, most people are very oblivious when it comes to, being under surveillance, being the subject of surveillance teams. Most people don't have a clue. And if they do have a clue, they're probably paranoid anyway. So, dealing with paranoid people is a little bit more difficult from a investigative point of view with regards to surveillance. But check those mirrors, vary your routes, be proactive. If you feel like somebody's following you that, again, makes you feel weird, don't be afraid to pull into a fire station or pull into a police station. Pull into somewhere where you can, have shelter, or see if they keep following you or see if they run off, There's just things that you can do. I don't want to really go deeper than that, but it's just pretty common sense stuff, but you have to implement it and practice it to be good at it. So check those mirrors, vary your routes, be smart. So with that, everybody keep prepping, stack it deep, and always remember, long live the Republic. Y'all take care now.